being taken by everything around you, by your environment.
Environmental
So
wins.
yeah, and so yeah, the term cult actually came to me quite late, you know, and then once I realized that everything made sense, you know.
Yeah.
It was one of these words that just sort of summed up everything. And I know a lot of people find it a derogatory word, but for a lot of survivors, it's a word that offers a lot of control over what happened to them. You know, it's that word means quite a lot to them.
You know what? Very early in my, you know how when you're in church, you know, you're kind of encouraged to invite people, evangelize, you know, this kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know, get new recruits essentially, you know.
Yeah.
So I think at one point, you know, with this church or cult I was in, I invited my sister there once, you know, like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, I've joined this new church, this new cult, and, you know,
Yeah.
you should come along, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I invited her around and she was like, oh, you know, that church is a cult, you know. And I was like,
Oh, really?
oh, how could you say
How
that?
dare you?
You know,
Yeah.
how could you say that about my,
Yeah.
you know, my prophet, my pastor, my church, you know, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I just literally just, you know, I was offended kind of, you know, in a way, but
Yeah.
I always kept that back of my mind, right? But
Yeah.
it was only when I left, right? It was only when I left. And here's the thing for anybody that's watching as well. It's only ever when you leave, because this is the same for me and the same for Michael as well. When you left is when you realized it was a cult, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
same with me is when I left that I realized, because when you are in it, you cannot see.
No.
You can't
You've got the
see
blinkers on.
cult. Exactly. People would say, oh, well, how would you join a cult? You know, thinking that maybe you're smarter than, you know, us
Yeah.
or whatever to have joined a cult. It's like, no, like it doesn't just,
No.
you know,
It
the
doesn't work like
building
that.
doesn't say
Yep.
cult members join here. Like it doesn't work
No, it
like
doesn't.
that. You
It
only
doesn't.
see,
Because
yeah, you only see it after.
yeah,
So I think
you
I was
do. Yeah.
a documentary. I don't know if you've come across Ian Hanworth from the Cult Information Center.
Ian, sorry, who's that? Sorry.
Hanworth.
Who's? No, I've
Ian
not.
Hanworth
No.
from the Cult Information Center. He's got a website on cults,
Right.
right? So he, I think I was just doing some research because I was about to interview him for my documentary, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing some information about some research about him, and that's the only time that I heard of Jonestown, right? The Jonestown cult and the Jonestown massacre. And when I started to, you know, watch these YouTube videos, you know, read up about the Jonestown massacre, I noticed so many similarities to my cult and what was his name again? Jim Jones. I was like, Jim Jones is my pastor. My pastor is Jim Jones.
Yeah, just it's the characteristics of that person that align with the mission of the church. Or
it runs exactly the same. And I just thought to myself, wow, I could have been one of those dead bodies, you know?
Yeah.
If I didn't leave that place, I could have been one of those dead bodies, because the level of control that this, you know, alleged prophet had over me and my family and the congregation and stuff like that, it was going to end, you know, maybe not in bloodshed, but, you know, kind of just the same.
Well, for a lot of people, I think they end dead in a spiritual sense as well, in a sense. So in a way, sometimes leaving a cult is a bit like a death, and certainly for me, it felt like that, because I lost so many friends. Like I was I've been in grieving from it for about 2 years, and it's only kind of now where I feel like I can sort of accept my new life now, you know. But you feel so isolated after leaving. It's unbelievable, and it feels very, very much like you're grieving. And I find what I find really hard is that a lot of people that I know think you're exaggerating your experience, or think that you're using exaggerated terms. Like cult, you know. And so it's
especially even maybe people, if you haven't been through it, you wouldn't understand, you know.
No, you wouldn't. No,
you would not understand, you know. You know, especially if there's kind of maybe people that are, you know, vouching for this leader or vouching for this organization. I think I've mentioned this maybe on one of my podcasts or something like that. And I was talking about this girl called Joy. I don't know if you've watched the BBC documentary on this girl called Joy, and she joined this church called ICCU or something like that. Anyway, and it was a cult. And eventually,
right, it sounds familiar, but
it was a documentary on the BBC. And this girl called Joy, the same thing. She joined this church cult, right? And she didn't hear from her family, her family, friends, whatever. The same thing, right? And eventually, one of I think he was a pastor or apostle or something in the church anyway, he ends up killing her and hiding her body, right? And they didn't actually find her body until months later, whatever. So I think this was all over YouTube and stuff like that, and people from the actual church were on YouTube saying ICCU or whatever the church was called is such a great church, it changed my life, blah blah blah, saying all this. It's like somebody has died.
Someone's died. Somebody
has died at the hands of one of your deacons or whatever, and you're sitting there with not even saying rest in peace, Joy, or just having some respect for the dead. All you're doing is trying to save face and protect this church and say it's changed my life and it's a great church and it's so good and all of this, and it's like, come on, where's your sense of humanity?
They can't afford to let the penny drop because they've got to make life look like it's as normal as possible. Otherwise the illusion's broken.
Exactly.
It's so sad for the people that for the family of that victim, because they see everything transparently, but they're faced with these deniers.
And you know what? It's not even the denier's fault, because think about it. If you were in that church as well, you'd probably be saying it as well. The pastor or prophet or whatever probably got on stage and said, hey, we're getting some negative, reviews or whatever online. Could everybody in the congregation, do some, I don't know, some
5 stars on
give
Google.
Us 5-star reviews, type something up on YouTube and say, we're a great church and how we've changed your life and whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's all kind of
I know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Because even when
I remember leaving. Sorry. When you were in yours.
When I was in my church, I remember he would literally lock the door on us and say, nobody's leaving this church right now until you've done live, Facebook Live or whatever, and tell people to come to the church.
That's ridiculous.
Get on your Instagram right now. I want to see you open up your Instagram right now and do an Instagram story and tell people to come to the church right now, or nobody's leaving. He would do that on a weekly basis. You know what I mean? So to another person might just seem like, oh, this church seems kind of good. This person's always talking about it, kind of thing. But no, you have no idea that it's being controlled. This person is orchestrating this, so to the world, it seems like a good place,
Something I was going to ask you, Zara, is what you think about the current situation with the COVID coronavirus and the online streaming, and what you think how do you think that will impact churches or make them worse, more prone to this kind of abuse?
I don't know. I think it was you maybe that put something on your Facebook saying that, some churches were still going on, right?
Yeah, that's right.
In order to kind of pray for the pandemic, right?
I don't know
if it was you that put that on there, but somebody. Anyway,
it might have been me, but it's probably been a lot of other groups you follow. I don't know. It is doing the rounds, but there's this one pastor in America that's, evangelizing through his television set like that, and asking people to donate money through the phone, and it's very strange. But
there might be a pandemic, but we're still gonna collect this offering though.
It's crazy. I think one pastor in America threatened now to shut down his church over the virus because But I just worry a bit about the online influence with this, for these churches that are abusive. Hopefully it will make people more aware of how abusive they are.
Because I think
it takes away the walls.
Will be waiting for this break, because a lot of people are not showing up to church every Sunday because they want to. It's the level of control. It's what the leader will say if they don't show up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
the
It's like
impression
you
that
can't be committed enough if you don't go through the doors, you know.
exactly,
You
exactly.
know.
Because depending on how big your church is or whatever, you know, our leader would kind of notice if you went there for a few weeks or something like that, you know, or
Yeah.
even the kind of flying monkeys around would kind of report you if you've got a job in the
Yeah.
church, like singer or keyboardist or whatever.
Yeah.
It's much more difficult. But at this time, I think that pressure is gone because the leader cannot tell you to come to church every Sunday or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that pressure is gone. So I think it's really good to kind of help people, draw back a bit. But then again, it might make people think, oh, am I a backslider now?
Yeah.
Am I
Oh yeah.
being
Yeah.
bad? Am I backsliding? Oh, I'm not praying, or I'm not reading my Bible, or I'm not doing worship or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it could kind of make this kind of, again, identity crisis. Oh my God, am I doing the wrong thing? But I think it's just good to take a step back, because at the end of the day, it's abuse, and it's going to clear the fog a little bit for you.
Yeah.
Maybe when they do go back to that institution, they'll start to see the discrepancy,
the cracks.
the cracks
Yeah.
in there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this leader's actually, for real kind of thing,
Yeah.
So it might be good just to take a break. I think somebody said, I think on one of maybe Facebook as well, and somebody was saying, this is a chance for the planet to heal,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think 100% in many, many, many forms. I think, I was saying on my Instagram the other day, like, this is exactly the time to, like, pour into yourself, like, really spend time with yourself, you can't even have that, okay, let me, go out with my friends or whatever, for most people. But stop, like, people should not really be looking for distractions right now. This is the time to kind of really get to know yourself and think about what you actually want to be doing in your life, what you want to actually achieve in your life. How have you been living thus far? Do you have health goals that you're trying to achieve? Do you have like spiritual goals that you want to achieve? Do you have business goals that you want to achieve? This is the time to spend with yourself and heal yourself, really get to know
that was actually something I was just going to say, actually, is that even if you are still in with a spiritual belief, it doesn't mean that by not subscribing to your church means that you're backsliding. It's that
like
you can focus on that on an individual basis. It's not it's not this sort of mob mentality or group or illusion. Because because like worship bands and kind of all the works of all the works, all the sort of the illusions of the church. It's like a false idea of it plays on the senses. Is it genuinely spiritual? So.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think there shouldn't just be any shame or any guilt in it. You are just a human being. You're just on this earth. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's just what I just like to, preach,
Yeah.
In the Church of Zara,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. I think stop putting so much pressure on yourself, spiritually, because I think all you really need to do is just spend time with yourself. And I think a lot of us have so much trouble with actually doing that, and that's what this time is really going to give us. Time.
Well, think about who that'll be most irritating to is abusive church leaders to spend time with themselves and see their demons.
No, they won't do that at this time, because all they're thinking about is, oh my goodness, I still have to pay the church rent. Okay.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
These people are not going to be giving me money to pay the church rent. So how are we going to do this?
Exactly. Yeah. How do we do this while still seeming to be charitable? So there's a real problem for abusive leaders in that regard. I think that will be interesting to see play out, but
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, Michael, it's been a good talk with you today. I don't know if this thing is even ending right now. So if it is, okay.
Oh, right.
It's just a network problem. So it's been really good to talk to you today and hear your views on everything regarding spirituality, because I got a little intruder here that will not let us rest.
All right, I guess fine.
So, thank you so much, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, definitely, Zara. Thanks very much.
Thank you.